All right, I'm going to switch it up a little bit, and I'm going to read to you The Christmas Tree Ship, the story of Captain Santa. And this is based on a real person and real things that happened. I actually met the author of this book quite a few years ago and got it signed. So here's the story, The Christmas Tree Ship by Rochelle Pennington. Art by Charles Vickery. The year was 1912, the month November. Autumn had fallen asleep in northern Michigan, and winter was just rising. It was rising on the land first, and then heading into the waters, closing them up, freezing them solid for a while. Not yet, but shortly. There was still time for Captain Schooneman to make his last sail of the season. A little time, but not much. He needed to hurry if he didn't want to meet Old Man Winter out on the waters, the worst possible place. He knew this, and he was doing just that, hurrying. The winds were telling him, and the waves also, "Hurry, Captain, hurry." Whispering were those voices around him in those moments at the break of dawn. He listened. Then the captain reached the decision. We sail. He would delay no further. Thick ropes anchoring the wooden ship to the shore began to be untied. Captain Schooneman was on his way to Chicago with a load of fresh Christmas trees, a majestic cargo of Yuletide cheer. 5,000 evergreens filled the ship's belly, with another 500 tied to its deck. Pines scented the harbor, and those gathered there breathed in deeply this first scent of Christmas. The last tree brought aboard, a spruce, was then fastened to the tip of the top of the tallest of the three sails, as this was the particular tradition of this particular ship. From here, this place of honor, it adorned both the vessel and its holiday load like a star atop a tree, but instead a tree atop a ship, a crown of sorts, the identifying mark of the Christmas tree ship. Every Christmas, the captain and his sailing vessel made this voyage together, down to the Clark Street Bridge in Chicago, just off Michigan Avenue. Captain Schooneman waited the whole year long for this very journey, his favorite of all. He loved Christmas, and he loved delivering his trees to the docks as he had done since 1887, where he sold them right off his ship for as little as a quarter, or as much as a whole $1. And what a sight his ship was, with wreaths hung from every sail. To the folks in Chicago who awaited this annual arrival, the ship had become a symbol of Christmas itself, with its blue-eyed captain, the hero. His generosity in giving free Christmas trees away to churches, orphanages, and to any family who otherwise wouldn't have been able to afford one, gave cause for his acquired nickname, Captain Santa. Hearing it made his ruddy-faced skippers smile, especially when spoken by the children. They'd be waiting for him on the docks when he approached the harbor, edging his ship in, shores parting before it. "Captain Santa's here! Captain Santa!" they would shout. Soon he would hear their voices again, and then soon he'd be back home. This is what he told his wife these many years as she stood there on the pier beside him. She wanted to know about the ship's return, and also his. She always did. When the water separated them, her heart from his and his from her, she wondered when he would be home. And he would tell her the same answer each time he left, "Soon, I'll be home soon." It was an unchanging response to her unchanging question. Yet she still asked, and he still answered. Then dawn broke forth into day, and on that November morning, lingering for just a moment in the shades of violet, crimson, and gold, lingering this dawn like a captain's dear wife on the planks of the paintless pier, where she waved goodbye, waving with the waters, "Goodbye, Captain, goodbye." The great ship was set in motion, this 44-year-old aging schooner, weathered and weary in the twilight of its sailing days, with Chicago somewhere before them and Thompson's Landing in the upper peninsula of Michigan now behind. The captain's hands grabbed hold of the wooden wheel with its spokes and spines that would navigate his vessel through the unseen passageways in the open waters, spreading themselves before him. To his crew waiting on deck, Captain Schooneman called out, "Unleash the sails, raise 'em high!" And so they did. Oh, to know what comes alive in the hearts of a sailor. at moments such as this, to experience the exhilaration of it all. Then the captain saw it. It was the one sight he loved more than any other when he was out to sea, this very sight, the sight of the seemingly being able to see forever across the endless waters of an endless horizon. Somewhere out there Chicago lay. The captain knew it. But for now it appeared to not be so. For now it looked as if he and his ship, with its sails raised high, could sail on forever into infinity. He embraced the sight with his arms spread wide across the width of the wheel as he worked before him. Sail on, Captain. Sail on. Yes, if there was a sight more beautiful than this, the captain knew not where it was. And he had seen many, many sights, especially out here where moonbeams gathered at midnight to dance on the watery floor beneath the lanterns hung high in the sky. And he would dance with them, this captain, shuffling his feet on the deck to the music he alone could hear, gulls singing lullabies on the shore and foghorns calling out in their deep, throaty voices. Then slumber would beckon him, and he would sleep in life's arms as it rocked him back and forth, back and forth. In the great rocking chair of the waters, the captain would be rocked to a rhythm of heartbeats, the waters and his own, tied in, tied out. Breathe in, breathe out. Sleep now, Captain, sleep. But on that November 23rd morning of 1912, sleep was the furthest thing from the captain's mind. He was awake, wide awake, acutely aware of the scenes around him. From where he stood at the helm of his ship, he turned around, again and again looking over his shoulder, watching the gray sky behind him darken. This was no passing glance that he gave the sky and its warning, but a fixed stare, worry creasing itself deeply into his brow. This changing sky meant something, and the changing current that pulled itself around him did too. They were silent sirens telling him, "Run, Captain, run!" Winter had awoken, and it was coming for him. So there's an actual picture of the captain of this ship. Winds were rising higher and higher, temperatures were falling lower and lower, and 40-foot waves were crashing over the breaker walls along shorelines just past. Ahead of these heavy seas, Captain Schooneman was running, his only choice. He couldn't turn back, it was too late for that. His ship was already taking on snow and ice from the blizzard that was wrapping itself around it. Winter was chasing him down in the most ferocious of ways, closing in on him in the form of this mid-lateral cyclone. This was the term weathermen used later to explain what had happened out there on the waters when the sky turned black and the world turned white, and winter caught the captain. So this ship in this picture is the Rose Simmons at the dock in Chicago in 1910. So it's not the ship they're talking about, but it's one that's similar to the ship in our book. Full of snow and ice. A crew of rescue workers on duty at the United States Life-Saving Station in Kewaunee, Wisconsin, picked up the captain's distress signals and radioed south to Two Rivers Station, where a crew headed into the storm to help the ship, coming close enough, within an eighth of a mile, to catch sight of the battered vessel coated in ice and iced in snow. Then a blinding squall of white passed between the two, eliminating all visibility with its heavy curtain of snow. When it passed, the Christmas tree ship had vanished. Yes, those brave rescue workers almost made it, but winter made it first, bearing down upon the loaded ship with full force of its weight. The Christmas tree ship could no longer sustain itself above the waters, and so, with the weight of a single snowflake, it sunk below. 2 weeks and 6 days later, fishermen came across a corked bottle floating in the waters near Sheboygan, Wisconsin. So in this photo from 1910, the life-saving station crew from Two Rivers, believed to be the same crew involved in the attempts to rescue the Rose Simmons, or the Christmas tree ship. So I guess that was the Christmas tree ship in the previous picture. Within, on a torn sheet of paper ripped from Captain Schooneman's own log, was written his farewell address. "Everybody goodbye, I guess we are through. Leaking badly. God help us. Signed, Herman Schooneman." Newspapers broke the story, including the headline printed on the Friday, December 13th, 1912 issue of the Chicago American newspaper. Lost ship's story told in a bottle. It had taken 2 weeks and 6 days to find the bottle, but for the ship itself, it would take another 58 years. A scuba diver came across the wreckage quite by accident while searching for another sunken vessel off the coast of Two Rivers, Wisconsin, in 1971. There she was, the Christmas tree ship, intact, sitting upright at the bottom of Lake Michigan. He recognized the legendary ship immediately. Its trees were still fastened to its deck, secured there just as they had been that fateful day long ago, preserved in the frigid waters. The unshoveled grave of the captain had been marked by a tree, as if the grave upon a land marked by a spruce, fastened to the tip-top of the tallest of the three sails, way back when. So this picture is an 1884 photograph of the ship that sunk, the Christmas tree ship, the Rose Simmons. And so it was that such a tree as this was fastened to the sail of another old wooden ship being loaded with evergreens the following November of 1913 at Thompson's Landing. This voyage had been chartered by a woman of a remarkable courage who stood on the planks of the same paintless pier where she had stood 1 year earlier, almost to the very day. Her name was Barbara, the captain's wife. And under her eye, evergreens were going aboard this ship until it was time for her to begin her journey, and then she did. Stepping off the pier and onto the vessel named Fearless, she and her precious cargo of white pines and balsam fir were bound for Chicago, where the city was waiting. They had heard, you see, that Mrs. Santa was on her way. When the schooner sailed in, the people of Chicago were gathered on the docks just off Lake Michigan Avenue to welcome the captain's darling. They came by carriage and they came by sleigh. They came on foot, whole families hand in hand, to buy an evergreen from this noble woman who chose to stand in the gap between the past and present and become heir to the tradition that was part of their holiday and part of their hearts. For the next 21 years, Mrs. Herman Schuneman set sail in November to honor her husband's memory and his love for the Christ of Christmas, and the everlasting hope he held fast to for all of his days, like a great wheel navigating onward. Somewhere out there heaven lay. The captain knew it, for the horizon had shown him that it was so through the one sight that he loved more than any other when he was out to sea. This hope of life eternal, of life evermore, guided his heart. It was his soul's compass, his beacon, his North Star. Another picture of the captain. I'll be home soon, the captain told his dear Barbara when they waved goodbye to one another for the very last time. And so it was. He just hadn't been clear to which home he would be returning to that day. It would be the eternal one that unfolded itself around him in those moments when his ship went down and his soul went up. And he was carried by his hope to a place more beautiful. Here beyond the horizon from the ship, his soul, the captain sails through the unseen passageways of eternity and looks upon forever and ever. Sail on, Captain. Sail on. All right, so that was the Christmas tree ship. A true story of something that happened. It was kind of sad, but his wife continued the tradition so that those people in Chicago could get their Christmas trees. So it kind of has a happy ending. So the Christmas tree ship, the story of Captain Santa.